Craig J sent me this article, and this is another DNU, and I almost didn't want to qualify it as a DNU because of how messed up the story is. Like, really messed up. So, this individual's name is Numonei Laster. Like, it's not Trayvon as one name, it's Trey and Vaughn as two different names, and his last name is Laster. And he is currently been charged with first degree murder because he shot and killed this father who was 26 years of age. I'm gonna read the article for him, just summing it up for you. Shot and killed this father who was 26 years old while visiting his 8-year-old son who was at a funeral home. Yes, the person he killed was a father who recently lost his son to cancer, and his son was only 8. So imagine you're going to go see your dead son who died of cancer at the age of 8, and then you end up getting killed right after viewing the body of your deceased son. Like, that is crazy. And I can see why they charge him with first degree murder, because that sounds like, to me, like that was a hit. It doesn't sound like it was random at all. But I'm going to go ahead and read this article. It's a fairly short article because it just came out. It says a father was shot to death while visiting the body of his 8-year-old son at a funeral home after the boy had died of cancer. Jeremy Shorter, who was just 26, was shot on Saturday at 11:30 a.m. outside Wirtz Funeral Home, Davenport, Iowa, while attending his son's Germier visitation. A 24-year-old man, Numonei Laster, is being held in jail on first-degree murder charges, alluding felon in possession of a firearm and interference with a weapon, the QC Times reported. Court documents say Davenport police responded to the shooting at the funeral home, where Laster willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation shot Shorter in a parking lot area. Laster fled in a 2004 Infinite G35 without license plates. An officer tried to stop Laster near Jersey Ridge Road and Kirkwood Boulevard, but Laster sped away. Laster eventually continued his escape attempt on foot, throwing a bag with a gun inside over a fence, according to QC Times, and it was probably the gun. Police eventually caught up with him and took him into custody. An obituary for Germier said the boy loved to play video games with his siblings, fighting with his blades, and just having a good time with his friends and family. Germier loved going to school, watching all of the superhero movies, and listening to his music. His courage and love for others will never be forgotten. Police say Laster admitted to shooting Shorter. Laster's bond has been set at $300,000. This entity does not need a bond. I'm trying to figure out, how do they determine who gets a bond and who doesn't? Like, this guy went and killed this father who just was viewing the body of his son who died of cancer and didn't even make it out of the parking lot of the funeral home. Now, this is before the funeral actually happens. Now, imagine that. Imagine that. Now they're going to have two funerals. One of them they already knew was going to happen, and one just unexpectedly happened in the parking lot of the funeral home. And they give this guy a bond? He doesn't deserve a bond. That's why I said, what is the qualifications for getting a bond? And he got first degree murder charges. I feel like, depending on the type of charge you received, you do not deserve any type of bond. And then they made it relatively low, $300,000. I mean, if you was going to give him a bond, make it over $1 million. Make it something that you know he can't afford. Not saying he couldn't afford this one, but still. Or even better, like I said, have it be where he doesn't receive any type of bond. Like, I feel bad for the family. Like, that's crazy. But this doesn't sound like it was random at all. This sounds like they could have known each other. I don't know what the circumstances was between the two. And they said this guy fled with a vehicle that had no license plates. So he probably got that vehicle, probably took the license plates off because he knew what he was about to do. He knew they were going to come after him. And he had to make it seem like, they couldn't keep up with him. But thankfully they did. Now, if this was a person that they decided to kill in their pursuit of him, I wouldn't have felt bad. And I'm like, don't do any type of protest for this guy at all, because he doesn't deserve it. And they said that he already had charges, because I noticed in one of the charges, it said that he was already a felon. And I believe he was, because when I pulled up his picture, he had another mug shot that looked different from his hair. Looked a little bit different in that one, but it was him. So he has had previous run-ins with the law before, but this one right here is probably his biggest one. And most definitely he should get hit with a life sentencing. But my condolences go out to the family for the loss of their loved ones. One, was uncontrollable. You couldn't help that. The other one was just senseless.